government has been massively subsidizing the investment on solar, precisely so they can, dump the solar panels in other countries to destroy other nations' indigenous solar manufacturing. And then we've been, in dream world. We've imagined that it's okay to let the Chinese manufacture not just solar, but we're talking drones, we're talking critical military technology. Imagine the country that we're most likely to go to war with or have some wars with, whether the proxy wars or direct wars, is the country upon which we're dependent for our military technologies. So the good news is I think there is a bipartisan agreement now in Washington that that's a huge problem. The biggest, or maybe one of the biggest, of course, is the fact that, most of our semiconductors, which also means then our microchips, are being manufactured in Taiwan. So if China takes Taiwan, then we are in very serious trouble.
Well, and the CCP did this with a whole bunch of very critical industries, notably steel is one of them, right? But also telecom, like Huawei, for national security reasons is, been massively subsidized. And there's a whole bunch of countries. I think there's like 140 countries that rely on Huawei for their telecom.
Well, it's incredible. And of course, there was the, Congress did act to then, restrict U.S. reliance on Huawei. But then Huawei also made the solar inverters, or made the inverters that are used in solar projects. So, the scandals kind of keep going on and on. It turned out that Huawei was sort of the main partner with the government of California in something that was called, I think it was called China SF, or it was an initiative basically to increase ties between California and China at a time when we were doing a big solar build out. So, one of the places that is most vulnerable to a potential Chinese sabotage is California because of our high dependence on solar. And so, I think the other, maybe the unsaid but should be said part of it is the Chinese have poured a huge amount of money into influencing American politics in terms of its propaganda campaigns, in terms of the spending by the Chinese government directly and indirectly on the American political system. So I think that we have been asleep at the wheel for really decades, arguably 30 years or longer. But the fact that just the drones example, the microchips example, certainly the solar inverters example, that ought to be a very harsh wake-up call and require some emergency action.
Well, Michael Schellenberger, it's such a pleasure to have had you on.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up, Oregon's forcibly taken and sold. As the U.S.-China tech war heats up, Taiwan is joining the fight. It's adding Chinese tech giant Huawei and chipmaker SMIC to its export control list following the U.S. lead. Here are the details.
Taiwan's Ministry of Economic Affairs confirmed on Sunday that it has added China's Huawei and China's largest chipmaker, SMIC, into its strategic high-tech commodities entity list. Taiwanese firms now need government approval to export to them. Both Huawei and SMIC are already on the U.S. entity list.
Although China and the U.S. have reached a certain stage in talks, the U.S. hasn't changed its stance on targeting SMIC and Huawei. Taiwan may have identified companies involved in transshipment for Huawei or SMIC and is now moving to block them.
The ministry said the move was based on the prevention of arms proliferation and other national security considerations. Experts say it will affect China's semiconductor and AI chip production.
NVIDIA said it would exclude China from forecasts. A clear signal. Earlier, the U.S. also banned certain software and equipment sales to China. Without them, China can't advance unless it goes fully domestic. More countries are now joining the U.S. in these curves.
Taiwan is home to the world's largest chipmaker, TSMC, which is a major supplier to NVIDIA. Taiwan's government has repeatedly vowed to crack down on what it says are efforts by Chinese companies, including SMIC, to steal technology and drop-ship talent away from the island. Reporting from Taiwan, Joy Chu, NTD News.
That's all for today's China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. If you have any feedback on the show or have something you'd like to see us cover, send us an email at chinainfocus@ntd.com. We'd love to hear from you. For on-the-clock original news coverage, visit us at ntd.com or download our NTD